So y'all, the first thing we want to discuss today is what type of bike you're learning on, and how to train yourself to hit the back brake. See, it's got to be like a trained reaction, because your natural reaction when the bike goes too high is to jump off it, and jump off the bike when it goes too high, you're gonna get hurt, right, y'all? So you have to train yourself to hit that brake. You have to train yourself for that reaction. It's got to be like a muscle memory reaction, right? And it's easy to say, like, yo, I'm gonna get on the bike, when it goes too high, I'm gonna hit the back brake, bring the bike down, or control the wheelie, control the drop back, however you want to say it, right? It sounds good, right? You could tell yourself a million times, like, when your bike gets up there, just hit the brake, it's gonna come back down. But 9 times out of 10, you're gonna panic, you're not gonna hit the back brake, the bike's gonna go too high, you're gonna take your foot off of the peg and probably fall and get hurt, right? So you don't want to do that, y'all. You just want to sit in one spot and just play with the bike, right? So there's a couple different ways to do this, y'all. The way I learned was just sitting in one spot. I started on a CR85, y'all. It was a small bike. It was easy for me to put my left foot on the ground and my right foot on the brake. It was a 2-stroke, so there was no engine braking, so made it a little bit easier to learn, because it's either you hit the brake or nothing. You know what I'm saying, y'all? So it all depends what kind of bike you're trying to learn on, but the basic technique is the same. You just want to like sit in one spot, pop the bike up and down, keep putting the bike down with the brake. You don't want to put the bike down by letting go of the gas. You know what I'm saying, y'all? Like, you have to put every time you pop the wheel up, you gotta put it down with the back brake. You have to like install that reaction in your brain. It's gonna take a little while, y'all. So don't get frustrated if you don't get it right away. You know, like, it takes some time. And another thing that I did when I was learning, right, is I would pop the bike up and put it down with the brake. And I would do that over and over and over again. And I would try to go through like different scenarios in my head. Like, all right, man, I'm gonna clutch this one up like really fast and kind of like unpredictable, and see if I still hit the brake. You know, like, I would play games with myself. Like, all right, I'm gonna see if I take my foot off the peg this time. I'm gonna whack the bike up a little more violent or a little faster than I'm used to. And I would do this because, you know, until you are proficient with your wheelies, right, y'all, it's gonna come a time when, you know, you're doing a wheelie and you give it a little bit too much gas, or you come off the clutch a little bit too fast, and you know, the bike's not gonna do exactly what you want it to do. And you want to be trained for that situation. You want to be like, all right, I've been here before, you know, and I've kind of played this situation out in my training technique by just sitting there with my foot on the ground and other foot on the brake. And, you know, you didn't take your foot off of the brake, so it's good. So you're kind of ready for that type of situation. Another thing, right, we want to talk about today, y'all, is the balance point, right? So people be like, what is the balance point? So the easiest way to describe the balance point, y'all, right, is basically, let's say this is your wheelie, right, y'all? This area right here, the wheelie, you're not in the coast. You're not up to the balance point yet. So you could control this part just pretty much by throttle, right? But once you get to the balance point, let's say it's right there, all up here is the coast. So if you go on the coast and you're not ready to hit that brake, you're gonna fly off of the bike. Bike's gonna go all backwards. You know, that's just physics, you know? So if you don't know what you're doing yet, y'all, and you're trying to show off for somebody, don't come past that point right there with your wheelie, because if you go up anywhere past that, you better be ready to hit that back brake. And like I said, that back brake has to be like a trained reaction, y'all. You can't just say, all right, if the bike goes too high, I'm just gonna press the brake. It didn't work for me like that, y'all. I had to train myself to hit the back brake, because I was just one of them guys. Every time I would try to wheelie, I didn't really like doing little wheelies. I'm like, I gotta get the bike up there, you know? Like, I got somebody gonna take a picture of me or whatever. Man, every time I would get up there, whoop, I would just go back and bust my butt, man. I was never the kid that could wheelie pedal bikes and could wheelie everything growing up. No, I tried to wheelie growing up, but I would always, fall. So it took a long time for me to learn, y'all, but this is the technique that I learned with, and man, I had great success with it. So we're gonna show you guys this technique in a minute. I'm gonna do a couple videos on the bike. I'm gonna show you guys really simple, really simple. Another thing we want to talk about is what type of bike you're learning on. A small bike is a lot easier, guys. Like a CRF 70, a 100, 110, 85. Any small bike like that is the easiest way to learn on two wheels, I should say. If you're trying to learn on a larger dirt bike, like a 250 or a 450, it's gonna be a little bit harder because it's a 4-stroke. It has a lot of engine braking. When you're sitting there and your training technique, popping the bike up, putting it down, the bike's gonna stall a lot. Yo, do not get discouraged, guys. Like, the bike's gonna stall. Who cares? Start it back up. Like, take a break. Don't get like frustrated and be like, oh, this isn't working, this is taking too long. It takes a little bit of time, guys. Like, you are training your brain to do something that naturally your brain tells you not to do. So give it some time. If you're learning on a smaller bike, it's definitely going to be a little bit easier. If you're learning on a large bike, even the larger 2-stroke bikes like a 125 or a 250 2-stroke, it's just a little bit harder because the bike sits higher and it's not as comfortable to sit there with your 1 foot on the ground and 1 foot on the brake. Especially if you're a short person. So it's best to learn on a small dirt bike. If you don't have access to a small dirt bike, you only have, James, all I got is a 450. I'm trying to learn on a 450. Yo, it's going to be a little bit tougher. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. It's not easy to learn, especially on a big bike. Like a 450 or a 250 2-stroke is going to kick your butt a little bit. So don't get discouraged, guys. But if you do have access to a small bike, definitely try to practice on that. And even if you could like go out and buy a small bike, I know not everybody has extra money to go buy a small bike, but the good thing about small bikes is 9 times out of 10 they're real quiet. Like, if you get like a CRF 70 or even a 50, you can literally sit there in your backyard or your driveway or the sidewalk in front of your house and practice. It's going to be a lot more user friendly, and it's going to be a lot quieter. And if you do buy one to learn how to wheelie, yo, just take your time and clean the bike up a little bit. And when you're done with it, resell it. Like, the reselling market for bikes right now is insanely high. Like, if you can find a little bike to learn on, take your time, clean it up while you're learning on it, like, make it a fun process. And at the end, you might make a couple dollars off of the bike. So it's a win-win situation in the end. Okay, guys, so we're going to go over popping the clutch first. So you want to have one finger on the clutch. You want to have your hand stationary on the handlebars. This gives you control of the handlebars while still being able to work the clutch. So it's basically just pull the clutch in, give it about a quarter turn of gas on the throttle, pop the clutch. Now, there's 2 different types of doing a wheelie. You could either clutch the wheelie up using the clutch, or you could pop the wheelie up just using the gas and the throttle. Most people start with just the throttle. We call these power wheelies because they're a little scared to pop the clutch. You don't know how hard to pop the clutch, how high the bike's gonna come up, and so forth. So that's why this technique helps you so much, because you're gonna learn a lot about timing the gas and the throttle and popping the bike up with the clutch using this technique. All right, y'all, what I want you to pay attention to is how I am just popping the bike up with the clutch and the gas and putting the wheelie down with the rear brake every time. I'm staying in control of the wheelie. I'm not trying to wheelie far. I'm just trying to practice the reaction of hitting the back brake with my foot brake. So I'm just going up and down, y'all, repeatedly. You want to try and do this as much as you can. And another thing I want you guys to pay attention to is, you see how before I pop the bike up, I take my foot and I give the brake like a little tappy tap with my foot. What I'm doing here, y'all, is just trying to remind my brain what it needs to do. So this is something that I want you guys to do also.
And you just want to keep doing this over and over again. Notice how I'm gradually letting the wheel come up higher and higher. But the only reason I'm doing that is because I'm hitting the back brake. So if you're doing this and the wheel comes up a little too high and you take your foot off of the back brake, you want to stop and go right back to square one. Just little pop-ups, little pop-up, little pop-up. And gradually, if you're hitting the brake, keep trying to go higher. But if you ever take your foot off of the brake, stop and just go back to square one.
So after y'all practice your up and down, pop the bike up, put it down with the brake, pop the bike up, put it down with the brake. Another thing that y'all could try to practice is doing a circle with your left foot on the ground, right foot on the brake. This trains you to hit the brake, and it also helps with your circles. So when you do get the hang of using the brake, you can keep practicing your circles like this. It's the same concept. It's just when you get good at it, you pick your left foot up, both feet on the pegs. So if you're pretty comfortable popping the bike up and putting it down, before you try your slow roller to see if you got the brake or not, you should be able to do at least one full circle with your left foot on the ground and right foot on the brake like this, guys.